So I wanted to go over how to do Unit 6.04 and 6.05's graded assignment. You'll see here on the left that I have the unit material open from 6.04 on page 4 of the unit, because this is where we're going to start the assignment for 6.04. So when you come down, we're going to generate headings and space for our data. We're using a spreadsheet to create not just the data, but also charts. So again, 6.04, page 4, and we're going to follow these instructions. We're going to type in cell A1 the price of gas May 2012 through April 2013, which you see that I have already done in A1. In A3, I'm going to type month, and then I'm going to type the months of the year. And you'll notice that as I type over here, they will switch. So it will read 2012 May, 2012 June, 2012 July, so on and so forth. So if I'm typing May 2012, it will flip to read 2012 May, and that's okay. Then it's going to ask you to type the words average price in cell B3. So that's actually where we're going to begin the assignment. So now it's time to go ahead and move on to the graded assignment 6.04. Here are my instructions on the left and the work that I've done so far on the right. And this at this point will be what kind of what yours should look like. It's going to say in number 1, rename column B, which now says average price, so here's column B, and rename it to say national average, which I have done. Then it says label column C as state average, which I've done. Number 3, conduct research to find reasonably accurate state averages. So I researched through AAA.com and I found state average gas prices for May, June, July, so on and so forth of 2012, and I've indicated those here. Now, a couple things. You'll notice that my columns are not wide enough to hold all of my data. So I'm going to go up here to column B, hover between B and C, click twice, and it automatically enlarges that column to hold all of that data. I'm going to do the same for column C. I go up to column C and click. I go between C and D, click twice, and it automatically enlarges. So now I need to, just like column B has dollars and cents, I need column C to have the same. So I'm going to highlight my data that I want to make into currency. I go to my home menu. I go to my numbers, tools, and I'm going to choose $sign. And there it is. Continuing on with the assignment. I'm going to cite my source, which I have here, AAA.com. Now I'm going to, number 5 says generate a line plot with the line for national average and a line for state average. I'm going to include a title and a legend in my chart. So how do you create a chart or a graph? I'm going to highlight all of the data that I want to include in my chart/graph. I'm going to go up to Insert, and you'll see here that all of the different options pop up. I can either ask it to recommend a chart that will represent this data properly, or I can create my own over here. I'm going to recommend a chart, and it's going to give me a line chart, which is just what it's asking me for. I'm going to click OK, and there's my chart. I'm going to resize it and reposition it in my spreadsheet. And you'll notice that my chart title, which I moved accidentally, says chart title. I don't want it to read that. I want it to read what the actual title is, gas prices. I need to have, you'll notice when I click on the graph that all of my information is shown. So you'll see that I have my title, I have my gas prices on the left axis, my months of the year on the bottom axis, Now, I also have a legend. How do I get that? If you go up here and I click on the plus sign, I can tell it to include whatever I want. Axis, I can tell it to include axis title, and you'll see here that the title box appears. We don't need that, however, so I'm going to take that back out. I do need a chart title, but if I don't, I click on it and take it out, but I do want it. I can ask it to data label, which would look like that. Data table, grid lines, which are these blue lines, horizontal blue lines, a legend. So watch here. Here's my legend, and I can also remove it. But we do need a legend because the assignment asks me for it. So that is assignment 6.04. Everything is included. Make sure this, when I got out, it changed it. So make sure you have your title. That is 6.04. Once you've finished it, submit it, and then move on to 6.05. So now I'm in Unit 6.05's graded assignment, which is here on the left, and you'll see that it asked me to open up 6.04, which is here, and it asked me to add a vertical column chart and a horizontal bar chart to the spreadsheet using the same data here. All three charts should be in the same worksheet, sized similarly, and next to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, how do I do it? Again, I'm going to highlight all of the data that I want to include in my new chart. I highlight it. I go up to Insert. I want specifically a vertical line chart or bar chart, which this is. I click on it. They ask you not to use 3D, so I'm going to choose 2D, and there it is. Again, I'm going to size so that it fits nicely onto my page. I'm going to make sure I have a chart title, that I have my dollar amounts on the side, and I have my months of the year on the bottom, and then again I have my legend. If you don't and you need to change any of these, you would go here to the cross. Make sure you change your chart title. Now I need a horizontal bar chart. So again, I go up and I highlight my data. I click Insert. I need a horizontal bar chart. Don't use 3D. So instead I'm going to choose this here. And there it is. Make sure that you have all of the information that you need included in your graph, a chart title, your legend, your months of the year, your amounts. All of that should be included. Now, the assignment asks you to pick at least 10 people to participate in a survey regarding your 3 charts that you just made. Ask each person to vote on which chart they like best. Create a new table, which would look like this, with results of your survey somewhere below the gasoline price information. Your table will look something like this. So I've got mine started. I've got my chart type, line, vertical, and horizontal, and number of voters. So you're going to do some research and you're going to say, how many of you who likes this chart, who likes that, and who likes that? And you're going to give them numbers. I'm going to say that 5 people like the line, 2 like the vertical, and 3 like the horizontal. Now, it asks you to generate a pie chart to display the results of this survey. So I'm going to highlight all of my data. I'm going to go to Insert. I want a pie chart, which this is here. I'm going to choose 2D, and there is my pie chart. I can resize this to be any size that I want, and I can move it so that I'm placing it correctly in my, there we go, in my spreadsheet. And I'm going to resize it. Now again, you can add specific things to it by going to the cross and asking it to include those things. So I want to include a chart title. I can actually have it label my data, and I need a legend, so make sure that's checked. You can also change this to look any of these different ways. You can choose any one of those if you'd like. And that is 6.05. Look, it took me about 15 minutes to complete both of these. and you can too. Several of you had already submitted your work, and if I indicated that it was not done correctly, please follow these directions and resubmit. Now go get to work.